Good morning from snowy Massachusetts. We have the nor'easter coming through. My name is Father Ryan Rooney. On this third day of the Priestfit Presentation Challenge, be present. I cannot be present to my people without a nice pot of Puerto Rican coffee, which I make on my stove at the beginning of the video. We've got this nice mug that says, "Thank you for being a priest. Thank you for being a priest." I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. There we go. So this is called the Presentation Challenge for a reason. We're leading up to the Feast of the Presentation on February 2nd. What is the presentation itself as a mystery of the Rosary, as a reality of part of Christ's life? He was presented in the temple by his parents. And we were meditating on this as we began our challenge last year, just what it meant for us to be present or to present ourselves in the temple, and we could say in the church, how I present myself to the laity, how I present myself to my brother priests or to anyone on the street. And it's the reality when we were ordained. The deacon said, "Let those to be ordained please stand." And we said the word present. Present. What does that mean? We showed up at the very least. We showed up to the ceremony itself. We said, "Present. Here am I. Here am I, Lord. Do with me what you will." And we gave ourselves to the church. We gave ourselves to the church. The present, when you open up presents, they're gifts. So we gave ourselves to the church. We gave ourselves to Jesus. But there's a reality that still exists when we give ourselves. We are still ourselves. And when we're in ministry, especially after a couple years of ministry, and a lot of young priests experience this in the first 5 years of their ministry, you start to burn out. You can burn out because you're giving of yourself, but you're not really possessing yourself. You're not really recharging. You can't find a means of recharging. And so many things can get in the way, so many stressors. And if you're like me, as a food addict, you go to food to satiate or to at least give yourself momentary pleasures to try to get through all of that burnout. And the reality is that only subtracts from the amount of presence that you are able to give to your people. So when I was morbidly obese, I was 464 pounds 4 years ago. It was hard for me to get down to Mass in the morning. It was hard for me to even put on my clothes. My clothes wouldn't fit right. I just didn't feel right in my own self, and the reality was that my body was breaking down. And if I had continued down the road, I could end up like those people that you see on TV on those shows of extreme morbid obesity. That's where I was heading, and that's not a priest. That's not being a priest. That's not being a priest for others. I was sick, and I needed help. So this is, for me, when I talk about this presence, I'm not talking about fat shaming, because I've certainly experienced a ton of fat shaming in my life. The reality was that there were just certain aspects of my life that where I couldn't be present to my people, and I needed a moment. I needed a time away. I needed an experience of renewal for myself, and that's what I got when I went to guest house in Rochester, Minnesota for 5 months, and I lost 100 pounds in that 5 months. And when I returned, and I was still really heavy. When I returned, I was still weighing around 360 pounds, but I had a new way of living. I gained a new energy that I never had before. In fact, brother priest of mine said, Father Ryan, I see, or Ryan, brother priest Ryan, you can call me Ryan. My eyes had a new energy in them. The other day when I was just making my video for the first day, I was so groggy. And I'm still groggy. I'm not a morning person at all. I hadn't had my coffee. Always have your coffee. I was so groggy because I had been living this holiday lifestyle for a couple of weeks, and my body just couldn't take it. And eating clean and being present, showing up to this challenge just for 3 days, my body starts to take off the weight rapidly. And I feel better. I have a new energy. I can get up in the morning, and this isn't really a burden for me at almost 7 o'clock in the morning now, and I can be present to this challenge for you all. So it's so important to just show up to the challenge, to say enough is enough. I can't keep operating like the way I was. I need something new. And even if it's just coming up with a goal of being present in prayer, this presentation challenge. I know another brother priest said, this is my goal. I've got my food under control. I've got my exercise regimen under control, but my prayer life is not under control. And that's what Priestfit is all about. Eat clean, be fit, pray well. If my prayer life isn't together, I can't be present. And the reality is, I keep saying the reality because it is reality. The reality is that in the life of addiction, in food addiction, especially in any kind of addiction, spirituality is probably the first thing to go and the last thing to come back. So if your prayer life has been going to whatever word you want to say, if your prayer life is just not there, it can come back. You can be present even more in your prayers by the end of this challenge if you just show up and give yourself to the challenge. I love the word presence for prayer because we think about the true presence of Jesus in the Holy Eucharist and adoration. And maybe that's a goal. Maybe you have a rectory chapel and you want to spend maybe 30 minutes a day just in adoration, or 15 minutes to start small in silent adoration, or maybe you've let the office go. You can get it back if you just show up and give yourself to this presentation challenge. New vitality, new eagerness, discipline, energy in the eyes, true possession of self so as to give yourself. Be present to this challenge. Present.